Hi there! Well, today's video is going to be a tag. This is the favorite one shadow eyeshadow looks tag. This was started by Kristin Gehm, and I was actually tagged by Elle of Elle is for Living. Both of those ladies did wonderful versions of this video, and of course Kristin's was especially good because she started this tag, which I thought was a really great idea. She not only had some great shadow suggestions, but she also had some really good tips on certain brushes that she likes to use for this I thought were really helpful. And Elle also had some fantastic ideas for eyeshadows that she uses in her collection. So I will link to those ladies down below, and please do watch their videos. I think you'll find them both very fun and helpful. Okay, so today in my version of the video, I'm going to be doing a couple things. I'm first going to talk to you about some tips that I have for wearing one eyeshadow looks, and then next I'm going to be talking to you about some of the favorite shadows in my collection that I like to use for that. So starting with the tips. My first tip is to wear an eyeshadow primer, and this is something that I tend to do as an essential part of my routine, actually whether I'm wearing makeup or not. And I know that sounds a little bit strange, but I really just don't like the oily texture that my eyelids get throughout the day, so I tend to wear a primer to sort of keep that at bay whether I'm wearing makeup or not. But I do think this is especially important when you're wearing eye makeup, and particularly a one shadow look. You really want your one shadow to stand out, you want it to stay true to color, and you really want to give it a little bit of extra punch that you may not get if you're not wearing any sort of primer on your lid. My second tip is to even out your eyelid color using your favorite setting powder. The one that I like to use for this is the MAC Mineralized Skin Finish Natural. I really like the texture of that powder. I like that it has a very natural finish that doesn't settle into lines. It's not obvious, it's not cakey or heavy, but it just gives my lids a really nice evened out look, sort of combats any redness that I might have on my eyelids, and creates a really nice canvas for my eyeshadows. Any setting powder that you have that closely matches your skin tone will work just fine. My third tip is in the application and blending of the shadow. So because you're not using any transition colors, you're not able to fade that one color into the next like you would normally like to do, I really recommend that you blend very well. So what I like to do is to take my brush and apply the shadow heavily to my lid, and then not add any more product to that brush, and blend up into my crease and into the brow bone area. So I don't go all the way up to the brow, obviously, but I like to take that brush without adding more shadow onto it and just go in very small circles and blend upward. And then I stop before I get to my brow bone area. Now I do tend to bring the color up a little bit further than I normally would for a crease color, but again, it's just because I want to have a little bit of a subtle fade there. I don't want it to be obvious that I've gone from just my lid color up to my stark brow bone. So I just want to have a little light wash of that color in between to make it look a little bit more natural. My fourth tip is to back your lashes. I think a really sharp and dark eyeliner can sometimes look a little bit harsh against a one shadow look. So my preference is to actually back my lashes with a black long wear eyeliner. Now, not everyone is going to be comfortable doing this, I understand that, but I thought it was worth mentioning since it's something that I commonly do with this look. But you just want to take any sort of dark espresso or black eyeliner, something that's going to be long wearing, and just pull gently on your lid and apply that color to the underside of your lashes. You want to be very careful that you're not touching your eye in any way, and you're keeping that color as close to your eyelashes as possible. This does a really great job though of adding some definition to your eyes without adding heaviness. It also makes your lashes appear thicker at the base. And my fifth and final tip is to think outside the box a little bit when you're doing a really natural makeup or a one shadow look, and consider using your favorite bronzer as an eye color. So if you enjoy a warm neutral shadow like I do, sometimes I've actually used my bronzers for just a really subtle look, so you can blend it the same way, a little bit onto your lid and then up into your crease, or just your crease for a little bit of light contouring. But those tend to make really great colors. If you use something soft, I wouldn't use a really dark bronzer, but if you use something really soft and natural that just adds a bit of warmth, it can be a really nice way to do a very natural one shadow look. So those are all of my tips for creating a one shadow look. Now let me talk to you about the look that I'm wearing today and then get into my recommendations. So today I have chosen a Laura Mercier color, and this is the color Bamboo. This is from the artist palette that is currently available at Sephora. So this was available, limited edition. It went away and now it's come back, and I'm so happy it has because I am seriously hitting pay pan on this palette, but this is the color right down here. It is a beautiful neutral. It has a very soft sheen to it. I absolutely love this color. So as I mentioned in my tips, I've just put this heavily on the lid and then I just blended that color up toward my brow bone. And then I have added a little bit of very soft matte eyeliner. So I did back my lashes and I used the Urban Decay Zero liner for that. And then I took my craft store brush and I used a little bit of this color Espresso and I just did a really light backing of my lashes on the top just to create a little bit of definition. So that is the look that I am wearing today. Now let me get into my recommendations. So before I get started with my recommendations, I do have to say that when I was putting together this video, I was a little bit disappointed as I was going through my collection. I was writing down all of my favorites and there are a couple that are real standouts for me. And so I'm going through my information and I'm looking at the manufacturers to make sure I have the descriptions accurate. And I discovered that a couple of them are no longer being made. They're not completely unavailable, but they're not available through the manufacturers. So I didn't want to just completely exclude them because they are ones that I really love. So my thinking was twofold. Perhaps one, you already have these items in your collection and maybe you didn't consider using them for one shadow looks, or two, if you have any interest in trying to track them down, I thought that I would go ahead and include them as well. They are ones that I really love, so I couldn't just leave them out, but I will let you know as we go through which ones those are. Okay, so the first color that I have is from Bobbi Brown, and it is still very much available. This is Bobbi Brown Blonde. This is a matte color. This is a medium ash brown. This is a very appropriate color. This is really great for the office, anywhere that you want to have a really subtle look. It's a beautiful color. The formulation is great. It goes on very smoothly, and I've had this one for quite a while, and I think it's just a really great neutral color to have. Next up is one of those shadows that I mentioned is no longer being manufactured, and this is Nars Cairo. If I am wrong about that, if you've actually seen this offered somewhere, please do let me know, but I was only able to find it on Amazon. This is a really beautiful gray taupe. This has a really beautiful sheen to it. I'm so disappointed that I didn't find this on Sephora. It is such a beautiful color and definitely in my top 3 choices for a one shadow look. Next up is another Bobbi Brown color and another matte shade as well, and this is Cement. I think Bobbi Brown is really my go-to brand for always appropriate shades. I like her formulations. I love that her colors are very subtle. So this leans a little bit more cool than Blonde does. So let me go ahead and show these to you side by side. So I've got Blonde here and I've got Cement here. You can definitely see that this is warmer and this is cooler, but again, both matte shades and both very appropriate. Another sort of can't really go wrong with type of color for your collection. Now, unfortunately, I'm back to another one of those shades that does not appear to be being manufactured anymore. I did again find this available on Amazon. This is Benefit Fawn Over Me. This color is such a favorite of mine that I've actually repurchased it. It's going to remind you a lot of Burberry Pale Barley. I've actually never purchased Pale Barley because I felt like this was such a close match for it. This is a really beautiful, soft, golden beige shimmer. Not overdone, not too much glitter or shimmer, just a really beautiful sheen. I like it because sometimes I can find that light washes like this can be a little bit too silvery in the summertime, and I like that this is a little bit warmer. It gives you a really fresh summer glow without being too obvious, and it really is so easy to blend, and this is such a silky, satiny formula, and I just could not say enough good things about it. I'm so disappointed that I'm not able to find this anymore. I checked the Benefit website, couldn't find it there, but again, something if you're interested in searching for, you might be able to find it. My next one shadow pick is one that's probably already a part of a lot of your collections, but it's actually really new to me. This is Wet n Wild Nutty. I can't believe it took me so long to pick this up. I don't know what was holding me back. I know for a long time these singles weren't available in my area, and I guess 99 cents was just too high of a price tag for me, so I waited till they were buy one get one half off. I bought this shadow and brulee, and I really have been pleasantly surprised. I guess I just didn't have really high expectations of it, to be perfectly honest, but this is such a great formulation, a really beautiful color. I love that how it's a little bit both warm and cool. It seems to be a little bit cooler where you pack it on your lid, and then as you blend it upward, it's a little bit warmer. I have found that less is more with this shadow, so I tend to apply it with a lighter hand. I found that if I apply it really heavily on my lid, it can actually be a little bit too much silvery for me, but I do like the way that it looks as you blend it up. I kind of consider this almost a self-blending shadow. It just really seems to transition really well the lighter it goes. So when you've got a heavier application to a lighter application, it just seems to blend itself, and I really have been so pleasantly surprised with this. And another shadow in my collection, my next recommendation, that's probably a very, very close dupe for this. In fact, so much so that I have side-by-side swatches for you. This is MAC Satin Taupe, another one of those that's sort of legendary, that's in a lot of people's collection for very good reason. This is a taupe with silver shimmer. Again, it's not overdone. It's a really nice sheen, a nice wash of color, a great neutral for a variety of skin tones. But I think this is one of those colors that probably everyone needs in their collection. Either this or Nutty, whichever your preference, but I think they're really both good ones to have. So those are all of the single eyeshadows that I have in my collection that I wear for one shadow looks. And now I wanted to talk to you about some colors that I have that are part of palettes. So the first one I want to talk to you about really briefly is something I mentioned toward the beginning of the video. This is the look that I'm wearing today. This is from the Mercier Artist Palette, and this is in Bamboo. So if you don't have any interest in purchasing this entire palette, know that you can get Bamboo as a single. And I should mention that Mercier considers this one of her Lustre shades. Okay, next up is from another palette, and this is the Lorac Pro palette. This has a lot of great choices for single shadow looks, but I think the ones that I like most are light bronze down here on the bottom, and then also taupe. Taupe is also a great blending or transition shade, but it's also really nice on its own. Taupe is matte, and then light bronze has a shimmer look to it. It is somewhat similar to Fawn Over Me. I think they have a little bit of the same tone. I would say the bronze, light bronze here might be a little bit more golden, maybe a little bit warmer in color, but they are very, very close to each other, so that kind of helps ease the pain of the Fawn Over Me, but both really great options, I'm sure. All right, next up are a couple of shadows that are available in drugstore palettes. So the first one I want to talk to you about is from the Wet n Wild Sweet as Candy palette, and I'm going to be talking to you about the middle shade here. This is a really pretty cool brown. These Wet n Wild shades have really good texture, and even if you're not interested at all in the rest of the shadows from the palette, these are such a good price. It's really worth buying just for this shade here. So this is what I would consider a cool satiny brown, really pretty texture, very nice sheen, and I like the cool look that it gives without being too gray or too silver. Next up is the middle color from the Walking on Eggshells palette. Again, one of those, if you're not interested in the other colors, this middle color makes it all worth it. This is also a nice satin finish color, but this is more warm than the color from Sweet as Candy. So let me go ahead and put these side by side for you. And you can definitely see that this has a bit more warmth to it, and this is definitely cooler. So they are different enough that I think they're worth both having in your collection, and they're both very, very versatile, but great colors to have, especially if you want to travel with something, you're concerned about maybe not wanting to have anything happen to your nicer palette. These are great palettes. They're very lightweight, very inexpensive, and if you want really simple one shadow looks, these are both really great options. This would give you some versatility for warm and cool looks, both, if you want to have both of them. My final palette picks are from another palette that is unfortunately limited edition, but again, if you have this in your collection, I thought it was still worth mentioning. These are colors that I really, really love, and these are from the IT Cosmetics Naturally Pretty Celebration palette. I really love Peace and Wonderland. The funny thing about these two colors is I feel like they're really, really similar, so I think it was kind of an odd choice to include them both in this palette, but what's great for me about it is that you get extra color in this, and I do like to use them both equally because I do think that they are somewhat interchangeable, but they are both a sort of mid-tone gray color. I think they're kind of a neutral gray, so they're not necessarily cool, they're not necessarily warm, but they are both matte finishes, and I just think that they have a really great tone to them. Again, these are probably colors I would lean more toward a little bit in the winter time, but I think they're just really, really nice colors. They remind me a little bit of a little bit lighter version of one of my most favorite shadows of all time, which is Bobbi Brown's Slate. That tends to be a little bit too dark for me to wear as a one shadow color, but these are very similar and go on just a little bit more sheer. And then finally, the other color I like in this palette is Cozy. This is also a really great transition or blending shade, but it's also a really nice color to wear on its own. If you like something a little bit lighter, Champagne might be a better choice for you, but with my fair skin tone, I need a little bit more contrast, so I tend to go for Cozy. This palette is full of great colors, but those are probably the ones that I like most for one shadow looks. Okay, so those are all of my picks for my favorite one eyeshadow looks. I would really love your recommendations and suggestions down below. I love a really great single eyeshadow with a little bit of dimension and just something interesting about it. So please let me know what your favorites are. I thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you very soon. Bye-bye.